The Pusser legend has been out there for decades, and so many people think that what they saw in the movie Walking Tall or read in the books by people such as W.R. Morse are fact, when actually the real story is very different from what you saw or what you have read. And I feel compelled sometimes to try to convince people of that. And I've decided maybe the easiest way to do that is to ask them to think for themselves. And I've got a number of questions that I'm going to bring up here. And as you listen to them, I want you to try and think about what Buford might have been thinking when these events happened. And maybe then you'll be convinced that the Pusser legend is mostly legend and not fact. So here we go.
What was Buford thinking when he ran for sheriff of McNairy County, Tennessee? Was it about public safety, or was it about power and personal gain? What was Buford thinking when he promised to clean up the state line when he first ran for sheriff? Was that a heartfelt promise? If you believe it was, then try to name a single state line establishment that he closed down or a single state liner he sent to prison. What was Buford thinking when he allowed people to believe that he actually carried and enforced the law with nothing but a big stick? What was Buford thinking when he refused to publicly admit that the first two shots he fired when he killed Louise Hathcock entered the posterior side of her body, as was shown later in her autopsy report? What was Buford thinking when he failed to ever arrest his main nemesis, Towhead White, for any violations of the law of any kind? What was Buford thinking when he allowed two women to overhear him threatening Pauline's life at the Old Hickory Grill just hours before she was killed? Just what was Buford thinking when he allowed himself to be observed at a gun exchange in Eastview just hours before the alleged ambush in which Pauline was killed? And just what was Buford thinking when he allowed Pauline to accompany him on a dangerous disturbance call to a state line establishment at 4 a.m.? I also wonder what Buford was thinking if he was always in such danger that he left his children alone and unprotected at the home when he and Pauline left that morning. Again, I've always wondered what Buford was thinking when he took a slower and more rural route than Highway 64 and 45 as he went to an alleged disturbance call at the state line.
Be sure and subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll get notifications of new videos when they're released.
Then there's also W.R. Morse's book, The 12th of August. And why did Buford allow him to write a biography with so many mistakes and untruths about his real life? And finally, what was Buford thinking when he signed a contract worth $2 million to play himself in the sequel to Walking Tall, and then became so intoxicated with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.18% that he drove a lightweight sports car with tires that were under recall at a speed in excess of 100 miles an hour as he drove home that night?
There are so many questions we should be asking ourselves about the entire story. These are just a few. I mean, you think about it. Why was there so much political interference in the investigation into Pauline's death? Why did they not seem to know that she was leaving Buford that day? There's questions about everything in Buford's story. It's all so fictitious. What people need to do is step back, clear their mind, and just follow the evidence for a change. The movie was just for entertainment value. It wasn't a documentary, as some people seem to believe. Most of the stuff that you saw in the movie did not actually happen. Now, I know it sounds funny when I say that I support the museum and I'd like to support the festival. But Buford's story is a Wyatt Earp type story. Sure, he did some good. Every sheriff who wants to be elected has to do part of their job and do it right. But it doesn't mean they do it all right. And Buford seemed to take advantage of his badge. He was a bully, he was a womanizer. There's so many flaws in his character that you can't imagine that he was anything like the character we saw in the movies Walking Tall. So keep that in mind. Do some research. Look into it for yourself. You don't have to believe me, but when you start to ask questions, just like the original question I asked, what establishments did he actually shut down at the state line? Name one. What major state liner did he send to prison for what they did? Please just name one. And if you can't do that, that ought to give you the hint that Buford's story is a hoax. So for now, I'll just leave it with that. I hope that you will think about everything I've just said and try to follow the truth. It's out there. Now, a number of you would like to know about Pauline's exhumation, and I'm one of those people. But we have to understand that District Attorney General Mark Davidson is a very busy person. Right now, he's tied up with a hearing about the Holly Bobo murder. And I'm sure as soon as he gets finished with some of these things that's kept him tied down, he will be making an announcement. Now, again, let me say the Pusser Festival is May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. I would like to see as many people as possibly can go to it. It's a lot of fun. Just keep in mind, as you're celebrating all this about uh, Buford, that his was indeed a Wyatt Earp type story. He walked on both sides of the law, and that's all I'm trying to get people to understand. So I might mention that during the festival on the 24th, we're going to do our caravan where we visit all of the Pusser related sites, the ambush sites. We go to the home and museum, the crash site. We go up to the county jail where he housed his prisoners. We take a look at that. The courtroom. It's an interesting time. And then we usually try to get together at the end of the day, uh, have an opportunity to discuss any questions, and then we go to dinner. Uh, so if you get an opportunity, please attend, visit the festival, visit the museum, and take the tour with me. Now, I might also remind you that if you are a current law enforcement officer or retired, we're going to do a special tour for those individuals on the Friday of the festival. We'll start out at the courthouse in Selmer. We'll have a short meeting there, then we'll hit the road. We'll go to the crash site, the museum. We'll drive the route that Buford and Pauline took. The day of the ambush, we'll visit the church where the alleged ambush party was supposed to be waiting for Buford. We'll stop at both ambush sites and take some photos and discuss what happened there. Stop at the state line. We'll see where Sheriff Dickey was killed. We'll drive by the location of Hollis Jordan's Tavern, where Buford and Pauline were alleged to have been going that morning. Uh, on the way back to Selmer, we'll pass by the area where the gun exchange took place, and then we'll end up back at the jail. And during the day, we'll tour the jail so you can see what that particular facility looked like back during Buford's time when he housed his prisoners there. So, again, if you're law enforcement or retired law enforcement, join us on Friday. It ought to be an interesting tour. Again, 9 o'clock at the courthouse. Park on the back side. You'll see the entrance there going into the basement where Buford's office was, and that's where we'll gather. I guess that's it for today. I hope you understand that all I'm trying to do is get the truth out here and get all the hoax behind us. So I'll just close by saying, as I usually do, truth has no agenda. and thanks for watching.